Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Mad Realms Talking Skritt. I'm your host, Jim, and it's a show. Like it's an actual full-on Guild Wars 2 Talking Skritt show. We've got the Realm of Dreams, the latest release for Secrets of the Obscure. We're going to be talking about the story. We're going to be talking about the map because they expanded Nayos, and then we've also got our weapons for our expanded core weapon proficiency, and some other things to talk about. You know, the community's reaction to things. But before we get into that, my co-host today, Arlie, she's here. Say hi, Arlie.
Hey.
So how you doing?
Good.
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 I'm sorry.
I
I'm
got out
sorry.
my
Oh,
I got out my Quaggin
got the
mug for the
Quagga mug.
show.
There you
Yeah.
go. There you go. I like this release. I'm just gonna hop right into it. We're gonna go straight for story. Um,
Mhm.
I liked the introduction of Nephis.
Mhm.
Dude seems cool.
Yeah.
I liked the introduction of Labris.
Mhm.
Even though we
It was short.
immediately beat her and then she unalives herself.
Mhm.
What?
We uh-oh.
Yeah, Yeah, we did get to see Eparch and
Yeah.
his tiny little doot
Which,
legs.
like his face. There's something about when I saw his face, I was like, this reminds me of something and I can't place what it is, and it's been driving me crazy.
It's not
Like,
the Skeksis, is it?
no, it's
Okay.
oh, you know what it reminds me of? It remind his face and the shape and the styling. Cad Bane in the Clone Wars cartoon series, the
No,
bounty hunter Cad Bane.
no,
Oh,
actually, I don't.
well, his face reminds me a lot of like just like his face part reminds me of him.
Okay, I think I might have seen some screenshots
I'm sure you
of
have,
him.
yeah.
I will fully admit, despite it being out when I was at an age to have watched the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars series, I did not ever get to watch it on
Uh,
TV,
yeah.
which I was upset by because I like Tartakovsky's work, but
hmm
completely different story.
I've probably consumed way more Star Wars content than a person should, so
um, that's for post show.
okay.
That's for post show. Um, but I overall, I I didn't really have words for the creeping like dread feeling because but it was yeah, I want to say partway through the conversation the instance where you talk to Nephis, and it was a thing that Krista brought up is just like we're not supposed to be dealing with this.
hmm
And I just like yeah, we should not be involved in this at all. The Astral Ward, the way like us as the player character, none of us should be involved in this whatsoever. But here we are because they're
Be
coming.
great to be. Yeah.
They're coming into Tyria, so we need them to not do that.
hmm
Like, yeah, Zach, and it's just it's what are we doing here? But we kind of have to be.
hmm
So I did enjoy this as kind of a bridge to whatever kind of conclusion they're going for here in the next story
Yeah.
update. So what
I
are
did really appreciate in that instance specifically when you talked to Nephis afterwards, he was like, well, really, Patha forced the hand. Like I had no other choice. Once she showed up, that was how things are going to go. There was no other way it was going to go. And really kind of calling out Patha's manipulation of the
Mhm.
situation. And that was really interesting to me because like he made a comment about like how she always gets what she wants,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
Yeah. There's a lot of ways this can go. Like
Mhm.
don't know what the hell is going to go on with that bark.
Mhm.
Lavris being so devoted to him that she was willing to unalive her. I don't know if you can say that because I know on YouTube you're not allowed to say the other word for unaliving because they get mad
Oh,
at you for
really?
that. Yeah, no, you're not
Oh.
allowed to. Okay, I'll get to. I'll hold that. Put a pin in that one, Zach. We'll get to that. Um, and then Eparch seeming to actually like. Honestly, I was kind of surprised at how I don't humanizing isn't the right word, but like his reaction to Labrys doing that
Oh.
was she committed martyrdom. Okay,
Mhm.
that's a good way to do it. But like Eparch's reaction to that just kind of
Felt realistic
yeah, he's
in
not
some
big bad
level.
evil guy.
Yeah.
Like he's not
Yeah.
kick puppies evil. Like he
Yeah.
actually like he has people he cares about, things he cares about more than just being evil. So
Yeah. I there was a part of me that when he showed up, I half expected him to be like, "Oh, you captured her," and then just kill her. Like just out of hand, you know.
mhm.
But I agree with you that the way it went, it made him seem like more of a real like person than just like, oh, he's a terrible this terrible evil thing, you
Yeah.
know.
Also, Mofongo, a large portion of Star Trek wouldn't exist without violations of the Prime Directive. So, like, that's a tangent that I'm not
That's
going to
the
get
whole reason the Prime Directive exists, actually.
so that you could violate it.
Yep, because that makes it interesting.
Fair point. Yeah, it's just the back pocket tension point of the story is just like how
Yes.
do we inject tension into this episode of Star Trek? They violate the Prime Directive.
Oh no.
They do it all the time.
Oh, Um, the other thing that I thought was interesting was when Eparch showed up and he was like, fine, give me her back and I'll spare Tyria, you leave, and then I'll just take care of Patha and all that. It was interesting to me that he said that he would spare Tyria. I don't think he was being honest about that. Like
Mhm.
maybe he'll spare it for a little bit, but eventually, he's going to come for us regardless.
Actually, Zach, I kind of counterpoint to that. Uh, that it looked like she freed herself while she was doing that.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, she no longer cared about being free.
Yeah.
It kind of the whole point there was to show that there were people, there were cryptists that were so fanatically devoted to Eparch that the second they saw themselves as holding Eparch back,
Mm-hmm.
they would remove themselves from the equation.
Yeah.
So that was, I think, the point of that. That in whatever she did to like
I
end
think
function, she
I
yeah
yeah, I think he means just like mechanically in the animation because like she was in chains and then she started the animation and the change kind of disappeared, which I
yeah
have to assume is like a limitation of the animations they can do
yeah.
in game and how those
I
work.
mean, for
But
something like that, I would say that. Do you remember the bit in Drizzlewood where Smoter kills? I can't remember her name.
commits genocide.
Where Smoter signs his own death warrant.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It was that like they could have done like an in-game cutscene like that, but I don't know what kind of time
Right.
and limitations. And yeah, a cutscene probably would have been better. But
I
considering
mean,
that,
it kind of it was it was almost like an in-game cutscene. Like
mhm.
it wasn't a full one, but like I think that's essentially what was going on there.
I
But
I also understand ArenaNet's desire to not like remove player agency. Like
mhm.
they've been doing a lot of stuff where they avoid taking control away from the character, which I appreciate, even
Mhm.
when it might feel better to have a cutscene or something like that.
Mhm.
But eh,
Yeah.
it's always a balancing act going around and doing stuff like that.
I really am curious to see as we move forward what the reasoning behind Park not just offing everybody who was there at that moment was, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things. Yes, Zach, the dread and
Oh
panic.
yeah. Yeah.
buffs. Yeah, I actually kind
Something
of
is
like that.
really not right.
Yeah.
I was amused.
Yeah. Well, honestly, the kind of unease in that instance I hadn't felt since Grothmar Valley.
Mm.
Like the first half of Icebrood Saga when we were like getting introduced to Jormag and like
Hmm.
yeah, and then as you're going through the story in Grothmar, it starts snowing in Grothmar,
Hmm.
and it's just like, oh,
That's not
this
supposed to
this
happen.
feels bad.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so and then the final shot at the Colosseum and you're looking up at the castle. Anybody else
Hmm.
here your choice of favorite Castlevania track start playing? Because I don't know, man. I look up at that and it's like that's Dracula's castle. Although Eparch is not as he has a different presence
Yeah.
than Dracula, but that's a completely different topic.
Hmm.
With that being said, with the story, like overall execution of the midpoint here, what are your thoughts
Hmm.
for like the instance
Um,
stuff?
yeah. I think overall it was really good. All of it went in a completely different direction than I was expecting for this part. Based on what we did in the first half, I thought the natural continuation of the story would be a little different, but that what I thought they were going to do in the story, they actually wove into the meta some.
Okay.
So that was interesting. But I really liked it.
Okay.
I actually was kind of surprised we saw at Park.
Oh,
I didn't
really?
think we would see him quite yet. I mean, it works as a tease, but also I kind of expected it to be, I don't know, like a bigger reveal almost, you know?
That I agree, Mofongo. That was my own only real gripe with the instances was the one where you go to talk to Nephis and Labrys shows up there
Hmm.
and the zone in which you fight is not mapped well. Like,
I was gonna say I disagree it was force ranged because me being the way I play, all melee, I did it. It was hard. It was terrible.
well, I
But
was running my sword
possible as melee.
I was running my sword Warhorn raid
Mhm.
build and it was possible primarily because I was running Glyph of Storms, I had my
Mm,
elemental, and I had Warhorn Air 5 ball lightning. That was the
mm,
the only the only thing that really saved it for me.
yeah.
Um I
I
wish that wasn't the case. I just think that they didn't allow like they should have just allowed the entire platform up top. I think it might have just been like a small oversight,
right.
but or because I know Patha I can't remember who I saw talking about it, but like Patha was apparently staring at a wall while talking to Nephis. So I think there just might be
Oh.
they might need to do a little bit of like double checking on where like the pathing for things needed to be
Mhm.
focused,
Yeah.
which is not the worst kinds of bugs. I mean, the instance still was you were still able to finish the instance,
Mhm.
so at least
Yeah.
it wasn't like like breaking.
I
Um,
wish for things like that, when you're doing it solo, I wish the NPCs would be set so that they couldn't like die, like be knocked unconscious
mhm.
because for me that made it a bit harder because I didn't have the help of them and also like she put so much crap around her feet that like fighting her and
I thought you were tired.
but then your little cat ran by and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to get you."
Huh? Okay, good job. I think I need to kill more Mordrum. I need to finish the weekly on mine. Do that in the post show.
Yeah.
Um, oh, there you go. Dragon Stand is good. Oscar,
He's like,
lay your
"Well,
goofy ass down.
I was going to tell her and another thing."
Just he's supposed to be tired. Like, but
Yeah.
the fight with Labrys, I actually managed to stay out of combat long enough to swap specs
Gosh,
and
how
gear.
did you manage that?
I ran away as far as
Uh-huh.
possible and I managed to swap specs.
Oh wow. Okay.
Actually, no, I didn't swap specs. I swapped. to my scepter, and the only reason I was able to survive is because I was ranged.
Ah, yeah.
Um,
I went
which
through the whole thing with sword dagger. I made it.
I don't know. Well, you're running with the celestial gear. I was
Yes.
running my full like 100% berserker's gear.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
that's way harder.
So
I mean, even so, I mean, I barely made it.
yeah,
So,
like I would have been fine if I would have been running my full celestial, but
Mm,
um
mm,
okay, so I suppose that's the next step as we talk about the story stuff that happened in the map,
mhm.
not necessarily the instances. So
Mhm.
Zach, you brought it up. We were having a big conversation in the spoilers channel on in the Guild Wars 2 section of the Mad Realms Discord. Link is in the description if you'd like to
Discord.
join. Um, the filling the bar stuff. Also, I have to admit, I'm happy to hear Muckluck being talked about because
Mhm.
from the content I've seen from the guy, like he tends to explain himself more, and I that was something that I
Mhm.
stopped getting out of watching Teapot stuff. Um,
Mhm.
I did not mind the filling the bar stuff because in my brain
Mhm.
the um shit, I can't remember the name of the author Doyle. There's something called
Or
Watsonian
Conan
and
Doyle.
oh well, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Watsonian is finding reasons for a thing to happen from within the story, and
Mhm.
I think it's doelectic. I can't remember how but it's finding reasons for things that happen outside of the story. So
Mhm.
like the Watsonian interpretation of filling the bar is we are running a military operation from a base camp in
Mhm.
Nayos, which is what is happening. We
Mhm.
need you to go out. So like because in the story all of this is happening before the meta is a thing that happens
Mhm.
because they're kind of running in tandem as the meta is running and the story is running.
Yeah.
So we need you to go out into the world, and it's just like you go out and you're doing stuff to help the military effort there, and then you go off and do your special mission, recruiting Nephis,
Mhm.
fighting Labras. That the dialectic is they want you to be in the map and doing events so that you can be there with other people
Right.
and learning the map and also helping other people do events instead of
Yeah.
just the map being dead while people blitz through instances.
Mhm.
I do not mind that being added in the system primarily because like I want to be running around and doing events
Mhm.
in the map because that's what Guild Wars 2 is.
Mhm.
And then even for the Watsonian interpretation of like I'm helping the combat effort, I don't have a problem with that. Um, I think it was more because it happened what 3 times. There was either 2 or 3 fill the bar moments.
I remember at the beginning when we had to find the general, we had to do events to fill it, and then you had to go do the vistas thing. I don't remember another time on
I
this section of it. You had to do it on the previous story
yeah.
chunks too.
The the the
Um.
the thing that I definitely did not like was having to run around to the vistas again
Mhm.
after you had to run around and do all 3 of
Mhm.
the beacons.
That
I
like it made sense why we were doing that because it was like we were surveying things to make sure the thing that we did that we weren't sure if it was going to have the effect we wanted had the effect
yeah.
we wanted it.
Like
So that
Watsonian,
made
yes.
sense. But yes, I agree. Like when that popped up, I was like, seriously, I don't want like and also because I'd already done all of those
Mm-hmm.
vistas and so it was like, ugh, it
All
was
right.
just
The
frustrating.
Easter egg hunting for see, I didn't mind that though because like that's something that they've done previously where it's like you have to go trigger certain things in the map
Mhm.
with the finding the weapon stuff. I didn't
Oh
mind
yeah.
that. I didn't mind that at
No,
all.
me neither.
But yeah, like I kind of feel like like a better way for them to do it, and I don't think it would have required much of a change in the writing. Is they could have had us be like, okay, cleanse the beacon, then get to a vantage point to see if cryptids start converging on the beacon.
Yeah. Or
So
like if they had made like even if it was just going to a vista, if it was like a special vista that you couldn't get to until you did that part of the
Mm-hmm.
story, that would have been cool.
Yeah,
That would have
like
been a cool way to do
if
it.
it would have been locked by, and it wouldn't even necessarily need to be like a map completion vista.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
could have just been like a like you have to get to this point and look out.
Mhm.
Um, so there is that. That's currently my only problem that I had with like the open world stuff. I
Yeah.
don't think I noticed the bar stuff as much, mostly because I was laughing about my corrosive grenades turning into cabbages.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting bug, which is
Mhm.
fixed now. You don't get to experience your grenades turning into cabbages. Um, but yeah, yeah, no, I get your point there, Zach. Is like when you do the map, just be like familiar with it.
Mhm. See, and I'm the opposite. I always want to do the story first and then I do the map stuff. And sometimes what ends up happening just because of schedules, like I'll do the story and then it'll be like months later when I get around to like actually exploring the map
Finishing
and
the
then
map,
it's
yeah.
divorced a little bit. And I think that's why I was saying in our spoiler discussion, I think that's why the events to progress the story didn't bother me as much because it got me out in the map sooner than I would otherwise
Normally,
by
yeah,
choice. Yeah.
yeah. So it's and then I think one of the other complaints about because which we if you don't have any other comments on like the open world story bits.
Mhm. The
Well,
meta map in itself.
well, one of the things I suppose we could transition one of two ways. We could talk about events on the map, or we can talk about the story step where you unlock the new weapons.
Events on the map.
Events on the map. Okay. Um, I know the one event on the map that people were complaining about was the collect magic in the air
Oh yeah.
one, which apparently they like there is even an achievement where if you fly to the top of it and
Mhm.
emote slash cry, you get like
Oh.
a not this again
Oh,
achievement, which
interesting.
I think is
Ow.
funny. I don't mind the little bit of self-referential humor,
Mhm.
as long as we don't end up having to do a third one
Mhm.
in whatever they do to finish the map out for the final
Mhm.
the next story bit. Um,
Wait, that the event that we were doing and I was like, "Wait, do we go to the old part of the map because
yes,
it looked exactly the
uh
same?"
huh.
Okay.
It was the extractor, and you were like, "Wait, are we in the old section of the map?" And it's like, "No, we're here. It's just another one of those things."
Yeah,
Um,
because that 100% seemed exactly the same as the previous one,
mhm,
which
yeah. Well, but apparently, if you did the achievement for
mhm.
collecting 50 or
Mhm.
100 of them in the and there he goes again. 50 or 100 of them in the first half of the map, you get faster progress on this new one.
Ah, okay.
So,
Eh. I still don't like the repeat of it.
yeah.
That's just
Um, Zek, I have to agree. Even when my grenades aren't turning into cabbages, I think the problem is you get 5 grenades and you
mhm.
need 2 to break the shield on the eye.
Yeah.
It's one of
They
those
made it 6 and it took 2, I'd be more okay with
remove
it,
the
but I
count.
don't yeah, I think yeah,
Yeah,
no count is better.
yeah, just make it a thing you can cast because I feel like part of
Or
it.
well, I was gonna say, or if they really want it to be limited, make more spots around that you can go to refill,
Mhm.
rather than going back to the little dude.
Or like have because it's an Asura that's handing you stuff. Have him
Uh-huh.
flying little drones that go up in the
Hmm.
air, and
Mhm.
like you can just
Mhm.
like dash through them because they seem to
Yeah.
like doing the sky scale dashing thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
like if they don't want them to be unlimited, which I think they should just be.
Once again,
Mhm.
the ambient dialogue is so good.
The ambient
Oh,
dialogue
yeah.
is good, especially you're getting ambient dialogue from enemies,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh, I like
and
that a
like
lot.
ambient dialogue from enemies is great. I love it.
Mhm.
That's one of the things I've been getting a lot. I've been trying to finish playing through Sekiro,
Ah.
and one of the things that you have to do for a lot of the story bits is you have to eavesdrop on enemies.
Mhm.
And honestly, hearing like that's how I found out. Apparently, Norris is possibly fatally wounded
Mm.
from its attack on Omnitus.
Mm.
Just
Interesting.
like literally cannot act in the current fight against Patha because of the damage dealt to it during the fight, the Omnitas meta.
Oh, I
Yeah.
haven't heard that dialogue. That's
It's
interesting.
slightly. It's from two hostile NPCs slightly northeast of the Colosseum. I think I heard it. So it's I think this is the first time we've been getting ambient dialogue from enemies.
Yeah, that's
So,
cool.
I haven't done Find the Spies yet, and I do like
Yeah.
the fact that they're giving the heart a little more use outside of just the mastery stuff, like
Yeah.
putzing with rifts and everything.
I feel like there's a good variety of event types on the map in general.
Yeah, no, I do like the events on this one. I even like I like the meta.
Oh, I really like the meta. I'm annoyed by the meta though because all right. I was really happy that it's not a consecutive meta. Like you don't have to do the first and the second part because by the time we got the third part, then it'd make it a really long meta.
You're getting called out by Emperor.
Oh, because I'm just killing things instead of listening to them. Yeah. I mean, so I was really happy it's not consecutive. I like the 2-lane version, but I've only seen Frode up on the meta events I've done, not the other one, which makes me sad because the other traversal one I feel like has more of the story tie-in to the previous map.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah,
Which
Emmons branch seems to finish so fast that it's almost always like they get to the center point so quickly that you're basically following Frode all the time. The final fight, I was interested to find out partway through the week that we were missing stuff when we did it the first night. Because the little like the tinier wyverns that are flying across the zone as you're coming in with Emmond and Frode after the join point, those are supposed to be part of the fight.
Oh, yeah.
And there's even more shit on the ground that you can't stand in. To Zek's point, the final meta being mixed, I don't mind the detour every 25%. I'm not a huge fan that it's 75 and 50. It's the same thing.
Yes. I think it should have been 3 different things.
Yeah. Like the pop up in the air and like pop another eye from Norris. Fantastic. I like that. Flying up to disrupt the rituals is a great way to break things because like I don't know if the event just fails if you let one of those go or if it just makes the fight harder. I'm not
I've been in an event that has failed.
Oh, it fails
Yes,
if they finish the okay. So it fails outright.
If it killed everybody in the map like it did with the marionette.
It does?
It would be cool.
Would be cool. Okay.
Oh.
Don't be cowards or anything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. ArenaNet, be willing to murder everybody in a map.
Yeah, for failing.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
The meta it dominates the map.
Yes, agreed. Actually, instead of just outright killing everyone, like Scarlet's giant beam of death for Marionette, is it like just the little drakes just start strafing everyone in the zone? Yeah.
People would fail on
I don't want to encourage failing things on purpose, but I actually to that point, maybe not necessarily a tower, but like collecting stuff in the air, I don't think is as awful as everybody seems to think.
I like that.
The turrets though. Hey, you have to dash through that in order to damage it. Hey, did you know that you have to did you know that you have to dash through something to damage it? By the way, did you know you have to
Yeah, that drives me crazy.
To that point, there is a feedback thread, and courtesy Krista found this for me, so I'm dropping this in chat for everybody to have access to it. Quote Ruby, they've gotten the feedback about the tooltip spam. One of the things that people said wasn't as bad as when you got like that tooltip pop up for masteries, but that it stopped popping up once you finished the mastery. now we don't get like with the demon or whatever kind of rift armor or whatever the turrets get,
Mhm.
because like you dash through it, you turn around, you're like, oh, I'm going to fire, and thunk.
Yeah.
So
I think if they could possibly do it so that if you're regularly doing something, you don't get the tool pop up for it, that'd be good.
yeah.
But if there's a some amount of time that goes by between when you last did the thing that would pop up that particular kind of pop up and you're doing it now, that it would happen again just to remind you in case. I
Mhm.
think that would be good.
Yeah.
Um,
One of the other things that I think maybe is like you've got the turret destroyer achievement. Maybe you don't
mhm,
need to pop up that I have to dash through the turret
mhm,
in order to make it vulnerable to damage.
right.
But it is. I've even seen something come up of like once you get the siege damage on fireball for your sky scale, that you should
Mhm,
be able to deal damage to it, even though it would be at
mhm,
like a reduced rate. So,
yeah.
funny, Emperor. I don't know what Ted Lasso's voice is.
Me neither.
So,
Um, so the other thing I wanted to say about the meta is I really like and appreciate that the two metas we have, the final fights feel very different and distinct from each other. Like
yes. Um,
the first one feels a lot more like static and like in one spot and occasionally you have to run away. And then
mhm.
this one just feels all around more dynamic. There's a lot more movement, a lot more things going on.
It actually felt a lot better once the little wyverns were introduced.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
Uh,
I liked that. Um, I don't really have a problem with any like there's some issues with the like the feed the cryptus event where you have to throw
mhm.
the choya cryptus food that you
Yeah.
collect on your sky scale. A lot of people have been complaining, it's like I dash through it and it doesn't always connect, and it's just like sometimes like the label is always there, but you also
Mhm.
actually have to look to see if the fruit icon is there,
Mhm.
because all of the locations are labeled. They don't always have stuff there for you to collect. So it's not that the dash isn't connecting. There's nothing there for you to collect,
Interesting.
which
Hmm.
I think might be a bug, because I feel like if there's nothing there to collect, the name tooltip shouldn't pop up.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Hmm.
it is what it is, I suppose. Um, but yeah, I like the meta. I have my complaints about Ignatius, but I think that's primarily that he feels spongy.
Mhm.
But the last couple times we've fought him, it felt like it went much faster.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's improved.
Oh yeah.
Um, so we went to events. So I suppose now we can talk about the
Oh,
collection. Oh, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you real quick. Have you done Enben's line on the meta event?
Yes.
You have seen it, like
Mm-hmm.
all of that.
Yep, I've done the whole. I very specifically waited for a map that the meta was about to start, and I literally waited next to Emmond to follow him.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Good. What'd you think of that part?
I liked going through the little fort
Mhm.
that I had to do the other event to get through. The one
Uh-huh.
that has all like the cryptus
Yeah.
rifts and eyeballs around. Emmond was just a cool dude. Like it
Mhm.
was neat following him. He seems like an interesting NPC, and I hope he doesn't just like get shuffled
All over
off.
bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, oh, speaking of, like that was one thing I forgot to bring up with Labrys. Despite the little cinnamon roll cryptus that Hador murders
Uh-huh.
in the previous story, Labrys showing up and then immediately dying does not bother me.
No. Yeah. That is a hell of a link there, Emperor.
Yeah, well, that's a Google link. That's
Yeah.
Google doesn't know how to shorten their own links for whatever reason. Um, no, dude, it's not your
It's
fault. It's
fine.
like it's
It's
the
just like, whoa.
multi-billion dollar corporation. But yeah, I didn't mind that. So finally collecting the new weapons.
Mhm.
I didn't mind it. I was I thought that they were just going to be rolled into the base game. I
Mhm.
don't know where I got that, because I'd have to go back and look at the announcement for the expanded weapon proficiencies in a general sense.
Mhm.
Um, but having it be locked in Secrets of the Obscure, I don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Because like the weapon master training for the elite spec weapons, and then the new core weapons being available through Secrets. I mean, at that point, that's basically elite spec levels of player customization. So
Yeah.
I don't see a problem there.
That was my thought on it. I think it's funny though, because originally with Secrets of the Obscure launch, I thought that the new weapons for that would just be in the base game, and I was really confused before I did that why I couldn't like just use the things, and then I found out, oh, where I go do some of the story, and then I still couldn't use it, and I realized there was a random NPC that I didn't realize. Well, I mean, I think it's Frode, so he's not really a random NPC, but like he had an icon over his head that I didn't connect in my brain as being like that's the person I need to talk to for that.
Oh yeah, for the elite spec weapons. Yeah.
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 So I like that this time it's literally just completing story chapter. Like that feels better to me than you have to think about talking to this person.
Yeah.
Specifically.
And it was, I don't know, like I feel like it could have used like the same kind of fanfare you get whenever you unlock a legendary.
Mm-hmm.
Like just the like its own unique pop-up that shows something. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, you've gained access to stuff.
Yeah.
So
that would be cool.
But other than that, like I'm happy that people in WW can just get it. They don't have to do the story, because I know that there are some people who play WW that if there is even a whiff of them being forced to play PvE, there's riots in the streets.
And
Which
same for SPVP. They don't have to play the story to get it either.
I would
They have their
assume that
own
if you just own Secrets of the Obscure, you have access to the Elite Weapon Master stuff and the expanded core proficiencies.
So this was asked when we did our preview, and I could have sworn they said that they have to actually do something within SPVP to unlock it, but I don't remember what the something is because I didn't pay attention to that.
Considering I've already unlocked it, I can't go check.
Right.
But it's, I mean, because that's one of the things I think in because if you don't have to like train the elite specs like you do in PvE and WW in PvP, you just have them available to slot. So that, I mean, PvP is basically its own game at this point. So
yeah,
whatever.
Yep.
But have you messed with the pistol yet?
Not on live. No.
Okay. I started playing with Guardian Pistol, which it has, from all the discussions I've seen in all of the various Discords that I'm in, it has absolutely overtaken Scepter for Condi Guardian builds. just there is no, like, even to the point where like you're not even weapon swapping, because the build that I was looking at for Willbender, it was using the single offhand, so that when you just weapon swap, it's just your main hand that's swapping, and it was sword scepter with torch offhand, and now there's not even a weapon swap. Like, it's one of those things, like you can keep the sword but don't switch to it. Arlie, it's nuts, okay? If I hit F1 to do the justice rush at the target, and then drop the symbol, which is a very snappy cast, which is great, and then immediately hit the 2, I have 17 stacks of burning on the target.
Wow.
Within a second and a half?
Yeah. That's a little ridiculous.
Like, from the point where I collide with the dash, 3-2. And it's just, here's 17 stacks of burning. Oh, and it's good damage on power, too. Okay, yeah, that they might need to tone down the power coefficient.
Wow.
But, well, I'll get to that point in a minute, Emperor, because normally I agree with you. Normally I agree that a new weapon just completely overtaking another one is a bad thing. But the problem with these Condi designed weapons is the achievement that they put in for getting 100 kills on the
Mm-hmm.
weapon do not count if the target dies to Condi damage.
So, also, I was wondering, you don't have to get like the killing blow on the thing,
You
do
do.
you? Oh, you do?
You have to be the one to get the killing blow with the strike damage from the weapon.
Why would they do that?
Because it's basically using the exact same code that they used for the Weapon Master achievements from the launch of the game. Because
Ah,
those did the exact same thing.
yeah, yeah.
I still have a bunch of those that haven't been filled out.
Oh, me neither.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I might. People are talking about this this thing where you go into one of the fractals and there's a bunch of 1 HP
Oh,
enemies
mm-hmm.
that just
Yeah.
infinitely spawn. I might just go to finish my Weapon Master achievements there.
Mm.
Urban Battleground level 4, yeah. Which I hate hearing. Like, I think that's really dumb. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like that shouldn't be a thing that people feel like they need to do. That's just crazy.
yeah, and well, that those will get nerfed, Havoc. Which shout out to the patch notes. The target golems in the training area are no longer legendary enemies
Yeah.
because you could finish your legendary enemy for the weak kill doing that.
I also really don't like the whole having to get the killing blow on things like that because that immediately makes me not want other people to be around when I
Mm-hmm.
want to work on that, which the whole one of the whole points in PvE is that you should always be happy to see other players, that them
Harley, are
being there
you
doesn't like impact you.
Harley? Are you quoting the MMO manifesto?
No, that was manifesto. Don't think so.
Sorry. But yeah,
It's
I
fine.
agree. I do think it is kind of counterintuitive for the like you should always be happy to see another player kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Either way, I think it's people have
Yeah.
found ways around it. Honestly, I feel like it's weird that it works for critter kills,
Hmm.
but
Like,
mm,
I can only imagine they did it that way because they didn't want people just running around tagging stuff and then running off and leaving it for other people to kill. But like, I don't know. I feel like there's got to be a better solution. It just feels so counter to what the game is supposed to be, you know?
yeah. Zach, there are plenty of like I always go to the when it's Renown Heart, I go to the training grounds in Saitung.
Mm-hmm.
Because not only do you get a relatively easy heart to do, especially if the
Oh yeah.
training fight event is up, but it also
Mm-hmm.
gives you a 20% experience boost for 6 hours.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, yeah, it's a pretty hefty experience boost. It's kind of wild. Um,
Mm,
but with the weapons, I did start messing around with pistol a little bit.
mm-hmm.
Um, on Elementalist, and I don't like pistol on Elementalist.
Why?
It's boring.
Mm.
It's very
Yeah.
uninspired.
Yeah.
Um,
That's sad because that's how I felt during the beta. Like, it was, it worked well enough, but like it wasn't fun.
the only skill I think that they was truly like a super cool thing that they added with pistol was the
Mm-hmm.
water one that leaves like the trail of fields, and the bullet bonus is those fields then explode. Sorry, smack the mic. Yeah. Like that's the one skill I thought that was really cool. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the fire, let's see here, fire 2 is the ricochet bullet
Mm-hmm.
that the bullet bonus is like 10 seconds of increased condi damage,
Mm-hmm.
which like am I supposed to maintain that if I'm running a condi build?
Mm-hmm.
uh, oh, hi 7-bit and bye 7-bit,
Hi.
enjoy the table, and don't,
We missed you too.
yeah, we miss you too, and don't total party wipe. Don't murder all the players.
Unless
um
you want
Murder all
to,
the
and
players.
then go ahead.
I mean, you've got a vote of confidence for murdering everybody from me next
Yeah.
time. But and then the 3 skill is like the weird projectile that then explodes outward into
Oh, uh-huh.
3.
Mm-hmm.
It's really slow, which was one of the
Mm-hmm.
complaints that one of the complaints they mentioned in
Yeah.
in the feedback post where they did the blog thing, is that all the pistol skills felt kind of slow. But then I think the trajectory of the resulting 3 projectiles popping out
Mm-hmm.
is random. Like there
Oh,
is variation to the arc.
interesting.
But once again, it's one of those like if the target is a big enough hitbox, if you land center, all 3 of them will hit.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bullet bonus is you get a fire aura. Uh, that's kind of my opinion there.
I feel better hearing that it being slow is a common complaint because I wasn't sure if my feeling about it being slow was based on me being used to sword dagger as weaver because it's a very fast kind of play style.
Mm-hmm.
Um and like I was just used to that, so anything would feel slow, you
Yeah.
know. So I guess
Um,
it's not just me.
yeah. And then water, I think actually both skills on water are good. Because
But what's water?
the two the 2 skill is a volley. I think it uses basically the same animation as the poison volley skill, just blue projectiles
Mm-hmm.
instead of green from the engineer pistol. But the
Yeah.
bullet bonus is you get healing as
Mm-hmm.
for the hits, which is cool.
Oh,
Like I like the
yeah.
idea of like water healing, but it's still a damage ability. Um, with the 3, that was the one I mentioned that has the fields, and then
Mm-hmm.
if you use the bullet bonus, it's the explosions. Um, air, the 2 skill is a CC. It's a daze, which I think is totally fine. It's air.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 skill is weird because it's a dash that changes your facing.
What?
So if you dash away from the target, it
Uh-huh.
changes your facing to be away from the target. So if you don't immediately move or strafe to like turn your character to look back at your target,
Mm-hmm.
you'll stop auto attacking.
I mean, it makes sense on some level that it would do that, but
Mm-hmm.
practically and play wise, that just feels weird.
When it's a ranged weapon, yeah. Especially
Mhm.
because it's a triple skill, because it's a dash that flips over into an attack, and then if that
Oh,
attack lands, you get another dash.
right. Mm.
So it's odd. I'll get to you on pistol. I haven't used the offhand pistol since from the go live date, Zach. Um, and then Earth is an auto attack, and I literally don't remember what the other 2 Earth skills do. It's just the 2. It talks about how it when it hits, it creates like it does damage to nearby targets.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem is when the 2 hits, it sends off 4 bullets
Mm.
from where your initial projectile hit the hitbox.
Oh.
The trajectory, as far as I can tell, is fixed.
Mm-hmm.
So if you shoot, it's just 4 more lines that go off. So it's not an
Mm-hmm.
AoE from the
Mm-hmm.
target. It's lines that go off. So they can completely miss everything.
Hmm.
And they're theory crafting Whiskey Bender in chat.
Yes.
Interesting. I don't know if that'll ever make it into the game. But
Yeah.
yeah, like my whole like pistol on element, and then they still have that stupid like I have all of the bullets, so I have a super special bullet attack, which even that one, it's not good.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know what the damage is on it. It's just like you'd think that like, oh, instead of using these bullets on other skills, I'm saving them all for one thing.
Uh-huh.
It's literally just you hold up your pistol and all of the bullets fly through the target. Like
Okay.
there's no animation. It's just a standard pistol shot, and then the projectiles that are floating over your shoulder go forward.
Interesting.
Like there's no like charge up like you know
Mm-hmm.
how with some of the other rifle and pistol skills there's like
Yeah.
a muzzle flash that's like a charge up of magic.
Yeah.
And then I would have expected like there's the shot and then all of the bullets like consecutively hit.
Ooh, that would be cool.
Like there are so many better ways to animate it that they just did not do.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what to. I don't even really want to use it. Like I'm still sitting there, and I feel like Scepter is still a better weapon,
Mm.
especially because like all of the attacks on Elementalist Pistol are just all of the auto attacks are the exact same.
Oh,
Like
really?
there's zero it's on just I'm standing there.
Oh.
Like the projectiles are different,
Mm-hmm.
but like
It
compare
looks
that
the same.
you compare that to every other elementalist
Mm-hmm.
weapon, even
Yeah.
Hammer, and I dislike Hammer as much as I do. Hammer still has like a whole bunch of different auto attacks.
Yeah.
I Yeah, like just
Mm-hmm.
comparing it to its only like the comparable like weight class, I suppose, a Scepter. Like the fire auto attack is a burst of damage at the target. The water auto attack is a triple
Mm-hmm.
hit of icicles. The
Mm-hmm.
lightning one is you're just channeling, but like the longer you hold the channel, I think it has like 3 damage windows.
Mm-hmm.
So like the first third is a certain damage range, the second is more, and the third is a much higher damage
Yeah.
range. And then the earth one is just like rapid fire. Like it's just thunk, 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 thunk. It's the
Mm-hmm.
closest thing to a pistol, but like you have all of that variation, and every elementalist weapon has that.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking, like, I laughed a second ago because I was just thinking, well, really, how much variation can you get with the shooting of a pistol? And the first thing that occurred to my brain was shoot them, throw the pistol at their head, bring it back to you, and shoot them again. And that struck me as being hilarious for some reason.
That sounds like some kind of mesmer way to style on. It's like you shoot, ha, like you do some kind of like weird flip with the trigger guard, and
Yeah,
it flies through the air and it bounces off their head and it flips through a portal and you just reach up and
shoot him again. Yeah. Sorry.
ugh. But yeah,
But
it's just
yeah.
the animations are very uninspired. I feel like it might end up seeing a lot of use in PvP, if only
Mhm.
because the animations really don't have a lot of tells.
Yeah.
So
I
it's you're
was.
gonna have to look at an enemy elementalist's bar to see their attunement,
Mhm.
and then just kind of guess.
Yeah. I was really kind of hopeful for Pistol 2 for Elementalist because it seemed like it could be a good weapon that I could use in melee when I want to be melee, but then when I need to back off and be
Hmm.
ranged, I would actually have an option, you know. But it's just I don't know if it's still slow and like that, I don't think I'm gonna like it.
Yeah. It's Yeah. Well, you actually brought up two things that I'm not a huge fan of, and it's the design of ranged weapons, and they're still optimal in melee.
Mm.
Because that's the
Yeah.
problem with like I was saying with Guardian Pistol, where it's F132, because I'm getting damage ticks from the symbol as well as the
Mhm.
bonus of firing one of my skills while in the symbol,
Yeah.
and it's just I really don't like we're gonna give you a ranged weapon, but it's designed for me to be in melee.
Yeah. I mean, for other classes, I get that, but I feel like for elementalists specifically, since you can't change weapons in combat, having a ranged weapon functioning well in melee too
Mm-hmm.
is just a functionally it needs to be a thing.
Yeah, because like you're well, and that's one of the things like with dagger being as strong as it is. Like
Mm-hmm.
any fights where you need some amount of range, you feel it,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I often have like my off weapon, my offhand set is like either a staff or a
Mm-hmm.
scepter, because otherwise, like I'm kind of
Yeah.
screwed if I'm fighting something that just has melee hate fields.
Yeah.
Um,
Which there's a lot of.
there is a lot of, yeah. Um, with to I'll hit 2 points because Emperor brought it up with things getting bumped out, and then Zek bringing up Guardian Pistol 5. Still hate it.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
I hate that charge level 3 is a reactivate. Like every level up should just be when it hits an enemy, it explodes. Because you're already asking me to press a lot of buttons as a guardian. I shouldn't have to think about redetonating a charging skill after I have to charge it up as well. But that's probably just me griping. To Emperor, your point about because I know it was in response to talking about Scepter getting kicked out of the Condi Guardian space. Guardian Scepter needs reworked. Like, it's not good. I haven't talked to any my engineer friend to ask what their opinion is on new NG shortbow. I don't know. Did they miss the mark again?
I know that they redesigned it some based off of the feedback to make it work much better.
Well, from what I understand, it no longer is like the trap quality, and you don't have to like redetonate it. But I haven't looked into it. Not great still from the forums. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I had my notebook handy because I took a whole bunch of notes on the specific changes they made to it, but I don't remember off the top of my head because I don't play NG.
Yeah. It seemed like LE mech players seemed to be good with it. Okay. Uninspired. Okay. Oh, so you just buff your mech and let your mech go nuts. That's neat. Like that would be a neater.
Sorry.
That's okay.
We're two champions.
Oh no. But like, I don't know. Like I'm not a person who plays engineer. Like flamethrower go burr, and that's me. I was not the target audience for shortbow. We were talking about Muckluck again in the Discord in the builds channel underneath in the Guild Wars 2 subcategory. Hang on, because Mofongo looked at it, and what the hell is that? Why are you shooting? I'm not even gonna look at that image. That looks weird, Mofongo. You're gonna have to join the Discord in order to see what he posted. No, you got to go look in the Guild Wars 2 general chat, Emperor. Let's see here. The big money quote from this is, "I felt the worst part about the new warrior staff is the warrior part."
Oh.
Yeah. Which, if I remember correctly, was all of the stuff people were talking about is that like staff kit is great. It just doesn't have enough in warrior to actually support it. Which that sounds great. It just needs more trait support. So, and that's I know I keep talking about elementalist core elemental trait lines need fixed. And it like maybe there's a bit more might. Okay. There's the proliferation of might stacking, I think, is a problem in the game. Because I remember when when Arlie dragged me back into this game way back when during the initial launch of Nightmare Tower.
Dragged you kicking and screaming.
Oh yes, absolutely. Kicking and screaming. I definitely did not want to play this game because I was tired of playing World of Warcraft. But you had like people in 5-man groups, phalanx strength warriors. Like you had to have a PS warrior in your instanced content group.
Yep.
So, well, Mofongo, to that point, okay, and for anybody who can't read the chat and is just listening to this on a second monitor on YouTube, to quote Mofongo here, the main issue with it as a support weapon is that it does heal well, but you need to go Berserker for quickness or Bladeshorn for alacrity, but most other support specs do both quickness and alacrity. I don't. Thank you. Give me the choice to do quickness or alacrity on my Weaver, or on my Tempest, and I would love it. But I think support specs should be forced to choose. I don't think a support spec should be capable of doing both at the same time. Yes, Tempest does a lack. I don't have an option to do quickness. I would love an option to do quickness. Give me that back. Give me that, and give Catalyst something useful to do. Instead of just trying to bodge quickness onto it like they did after release. No, I'm not getting back into that. I have to clip that from last week's video so I can talk about that on YouTube and make people mad in the comments. Because what do you mean? Catalyst does great numbers. I'm not talking about the numbers. It feels bad. Anyway. But yeah, like mostly, and I know Krista's been playing with maces, doing heal bonker stuff. And
It's my power set.
yeah.
I'm a soul beast.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that I didn't think about when they said they added a buff to the auto attack chain on the Ranger Mace that gives your pet a heal over time effect.
Oh.
And I remember seeing a lot of people like, "Why do you need this?" And I'm like, "Wait a second, Soul Beast integration, because if you're
Right.
merged, you get the buff from the pet." Oh, no, well, for the most part, what I'm saying, Mafongo, is that I think everyone else has already, like, gone entirely too far ahead and needs to be pulled back, but not back to where Warrior is now. I do agree that I think Warrior needs pushed a little forward. And Tavik is also, much like I said, for basically every time we've talked about the new core weapons, Ranger won. Ranger won this round. I haven't had a chance to talk to any Mesmer players for that. I don't think I've ever heard a Necro complain about the swords. But then again, I also didn't hear a lot of Necros talk about the swords in the first place. So I think it's just kind of like they exist and they're cool. Shortbow, we talked. Okay, so let's hear light armor classes. Talked at length about pistol and elementalist because I play elementalist. Talked about Mesmer rifle. We don't know anything about it. Other Necro. Sorry, I forgot. I forget that Necro is a light armor class a lot for some reason.
Hey, what do you think?
We talked about Shortbow and NG and that it's still the last place problem child. Engineer, that was Engineer. Rangers win, and Thieves got. What did Thieves get? Axes.
Oh.
Okay. Thieves got axes, and apparently DPS rotations for this want you to turn off your auto attack.
What?
Yeah. I don't know if you saw what Softpup posted in the builds chat.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
I didn't read all of that because I read the first line and I was like, no, I
Your
don't
eyes
want to read all
cross
of
and
this. Yeah.
Yeah, they want you to turn off your auto attack so you don't accidentally recall your axes.
Well, I mean, it's not the first time that's been a thing for DPS builds, but
one of the things I do want to say to everybody who is just like what I consider like this is a very loaded word, a normal player, but like if you're watching a podcast about the game, you're already kind of
not normal
past that point. For the people in this particular niche, like the turn off your auto attack people are the min-maxers. You don't have to turn off your auto attack. You really don't. It's okay. You can learn it, but much like with my raid rotation, where my raid rotation wants me to learn a weave self rotation, I just slot greater elemental. Not gonna do the weave self rotation. Or if I do end up going back to the weave self rotation, I'm just gonna come up with my own in order to very quickly run through everything and go. They're magic axes, Deo. We can't call them dragon. We can't. Can we still just hand wave dragon magic?
Yeah, dragon magic still exists.
That's true. Aurene is she's still a dragon. She still exists. Dragon magic. There. Don't have to worry about throwing your axes away. Dragon magic. It spawns a new axe in your hand. It's fine. Dragon magic. So Thieves got that. Heavy armor, Guardian pistols are mostly cool. Um, I really don't like how they're very much designed. Like it feels like they're more powerful melee than like a pistol should be.
Mm-hmm.
Warrior staff, we talked about that with it being really solid, but needs more like within class support. Revenant scepter, I don't know. I haven't heard anybody talking about it. I like the kind of like lightsaber thing because it gives them like a short to mid range weapon
Mm-hmm.
that still is melee. They got rid of the you have to auto attack to build
Mm-hmm.
up the buff thing. Still clunky feeling? Okay. I don't know enough about Revenant because I know they kind of wanted it to be a support weapon because if you set the buff on an ally,
Mm-hmm.
a Duel of the Fates playing in the background, yeah. Now the only problem is you can't change the color of the beam on the auto attack because well, I mean everyone would want it to be purple, but so
I wouldn't want it to be purple.
did they ever add anything once they did Herald for Revenant? Yeah, Deo. Although
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I don't think that you'll ever change your build, but you would have to log in to change your build. And
I mean,
he did,
I've never switched my Revenant out of Sword Herald, so
and I'm fairly
I just
certain
like it.
I'm fairly certain that was meta or might still be meta. So I don't know.
It was at one point. I'm pretty sure that it's not anymore, though.
But generally speaking, like I think there's definitely a few things that need work, but yeah, I think this is good for the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think everything like with the weapon master training and the new core weapons, like, would you say that this is enough of an effect on the game that you would call this equivalent to a new set of elite specs?
Um, no, because I think elite specs always mess up everything way worse. But I think this is a better thing than just doing elite specs all the time.
Oh goodness, they just made elite specs even harder to design
Mm-hmm.
because now you have to account for not only do you have to account for all the core weapons, you have to account for all the elite spec weapons now.
Mm-hmm. Also, I wonder if we're just going to keep doing this until everybody can use all weapons. And if we are, why don't we just give everybody all weapons?
Because they need something to put in expansions going down the line.
It probably also takes some time to design how
Yeah.
those weapons work.
Yeah. Which I mean, we did talk about, no, this was last week because I was looking for the point where I started ranting about Catalyst again. One of the things we talked about last week after you left was it feels that, like, I think one of the things Mofongo said was like it feels like some of the weapons were added not to fill a niche, but just because they had to add it.
Yes.
So,
Which is a problem. But we had that problem with elite specs too. Like some of them after a while was like, oh, well, we need to do an elite spec for this. So here, and it wasn't really fixing something that was missing with the class.
yeah.
Like I would say the full set of first elite specs did that pretty well, but ever since then, it's been like some of them have absolutely still addressed the niche needed by that class, but others haven't.
Yeah.
And that's been, I think, one of the bigger problems.
Insert me complaining about Catalyst because the niche that it tried to fill was already filled by Weaver.
Mm-hmm.
So, or actually, it was trying to fill a niche that was somewhere between both Tempest and Weaver because it's trying to do buffs, but it's also trying to be like a pseudo tanky melee.
Right.
So,
yeah.
And Emperor, I don't really agree with that concept anymore. With like the class identity of warrior being, well, they can use all of the weapons because
Yeah. I feel like that's a thin thing to base the entire identity of a class on. Like
If
always
we
has
were
been.
if the identity of the class was much more tied up in weapons, I might agree with you more. But it's been a really long time since that's been like
Mhm.
we're definitely tied up in what your specializations are at this
You
point.
know, I think that was probably accurate back in core because that's remember I used to always say warrior was super boring to me. That's why I didn't like it. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that was part of it because the only real thing it felt like it had going for it was it could use all the weapons. Like they to me at least didn't feel like it had a really strong identity outside of that.
Yeah. Now, one of the other things I did want to bring up, and we kind of got way away from that when we started talking about the unlock for the new core weapons, was one of the things that happened in that post the post that I linked a while back. It's the feedback thread for this. I'm going to repost it in chat here. One of the things that the OP brings up is being mad that they have to prove themselves. Like
What?
for that intro instance where like Galrath is just like, you're not going to get official support from the
Oh,
Astral Ward,
uh-huh. Hmm.
and but I am the commander, and they're like talking about like I'm the commander, I'm not the wayfinder, or I could be called the greatest hero of our time, and I'm just like I'm sitting there and I'm reading what they're saying.
Did they miss the part that we're like in a whole nother realm of like level of problems?
The problem I had is like there was a whole thing where I literally was looking at my screen and it was a you fucking what, when I want to say it was Isgarin that made the comment of like it might have
Mm-hmm.
been Isgarin, it might have been somebody else, or no, it was probably Dagda when she still like was being a huge bitch to us.
Uh-huh.
Where she was just like, while you were playing with oversized lizards, we were dealing with real problems.
Uh-huh.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's just one of those things where it's just like, yes, we do have to prove ourselves to the Astral Ward, and we still do because they don't see everything we did during the Dragon Cycle as a big deal.
Yeah, like they could have done that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just it's one of those things where it's just like our title as the commander doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't understand how you get through all of the expansion launch story and not realize that still applies. Like we've helped them, they've kind of accepted us and all of that, but we're
Yeah,
not like on their level still,
like
you know?
the only reason that like the wizards, like I'm considering it's like the wizards council, like
Mm-hmm.
Isgarin and Dagda and Zoja, like the only reason we're at the table, so to speak, is because we kind of inserted ourselves into their politics
Mm-hmm.
when we barged into Arena's camp,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Got sucked in.
we're friends with Zoja, like we know Zoja.
Right.
Like that's the only reason that we have a seat at this particular table.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, exactly, Zach. It's we're dealing with like universe shattering shit instead of
Mm-hmm.
world shattering shit.
Yep.
And it was like, and the fact that they were complaining about having to buy the ancient scroll, and I just like a lot of the story complaints I was looking at, and it's just like we are at this particular point in time at best an Astral Ward member with slightly more like
Mm-hmm.
consideration from the Wizards.
Mm-hmm.
We're dealing with an entire order of Captain Marvels. I mean, kind of, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Although I dare say they kind of deserve it because I feel like Norris might have just been able to eat one of the Elder Dragons.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So with stuff like that, like I don't know, like it feels like people don't necessarily like. I wonder at times when people are actually paying attention to the story as it's coming in, and like
Mm-hmm.
like internalizing it and remembering it. One of the things I
Mm-hmm.
do want to do when the next chapter comes out is I'd like to finish it and then replay everything from Secrets of the Obscure.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do remember all the times people were talking about like oh, Iceberg Saga was so much better at being able to play it just straight through. So at this
Mm-hmm.
point, I'm kind of sitting here wondering, can somebody write out Norris? Oh, Nourys. Norris.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'm gonna check that myself. I'm pretty sure that's it. Nourys.
It's funny because every
Yes.
time you say that, my brain first thinks of Mrs. Norris from Harry Potter, the cat.
Oh, okay.
And then I imagined her attacking the thing, and it's fun.
You're gonna have to select all and copy go to link because apparently commas break links on
Oh,
Twitch's
wow.
website.
Twitch.
Small indie company, everybody. Small indie
Mm-hmm.
company. But yeah, I don't know. Like that's a lot of the yeah, goodness. Oh God, find out somebody was calling him Chuck before they knew a name for him. Just much like we were calling Suwon Bubbles for the
Steve.
longest time.
Well,
Bubbles or Steve.
Bubbles, and then Steve when I think it
Starts with an
was
S.
um uh Stein. My brain just look on his first name. The writer. Last name Stein.
Bobby.
Bobby. Thank you. My brain was just like, I can't. What's that name?
I'm gonna put this up on YouTube. He's gonna see it for the first episode in a while. He's gonna listen to it and he's gonna be like, Arlie.
Oh, I know. But like at some point he confirmed that the name of the water dragon started with an
An
S, so
S.
then people started calling it
Because
Steve.
it's always Steve. Like the
Uh-huh.
skeleton in the labyrinth, Steve.
Yep.
But yeah, um I don't know. Like I'm gonna want to play through everything all at once.
Mhm. Well, it's also I think with all of the story content, it hits and connects different when you can play it consecutively with no breaks.
Mm-hmm. It definitely feels like it flows better, yeah. I actually definitely want to play through all of Path of Fire and then all of the living story from Path of Fire because I don't remember, like, we fought Balthazar, we
Uh
died, I think,
yep.
and then we dealt with Kralkatorrik, but
Uh-huh.
I don't remember. Oh right,
Yeah.
Joko existed briefly.
Mhm.
But I
Yeah,
don't.
I remember very little about how all of that happened.
First binge watching, not binge play. Well, I don't necessarily want to binge play, but I do want to like play through in a relatively short amount of time, like take a week or two and go through it
Mhm.
instead of like months
It's a
to
good
literal
idea.
years.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've done the same thing with anime. Because like
Mhm.
I'll watch or now binge playing. Well, I've done the same thing with an anime where like Chris and I have started like season 2 comes out a year and a half later, and we watch
Mhm.
episode 1 of season 2, and we're like,
We
I
need to
don't.
go back.
I remember nothing of this place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's Gandalf. I have no memory of this place.
Yep.
But so we'll stop and we'll blitz through the entirety of season 1, which we watched, but we were watching it week by week when it came out.
Mhm.
So, but
Yeah.
it's
I
it's
that is one thing that's interesting because I when we went back and we replayed the story content, like
mm-hmm,
the way all of that played out, like was way different. Like I remembered all of the things happening, but I didn't always remember like their relation to each other and the
mm-hmm,
order that those things happened. So it made it hit way, way differently.
absolutely, yeah. Yeah. And I even watching the one streamer that I've been mentioning, Koro, that Krista found when she's working, like watching him play through season 1 and 2 has been really cool. We watch. I don't even think Krista and I got through the first season of Attack on Titan.
Yeah, me neither.
Um, yeah, I don't remember. I don't know if we ever made it through the first season. A 5-year hiatus is kind of unacceptable, but it is what it is. So we've got like 15 minutes left before we wrap up. I'm trying to actually like we're first structured show back in a while. I kind of like to like wrap up in a reasonable time, but I have two theories from the environmental storytelling of the second half of Inner Nayos that I'd like to bring up.
Mm-hmm.
We see an awful lot of architecture
Mm-hmm.
that looks very familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And the dialectic callback.
Mm-hmm.
The dialectic bit is just they wanted to reuse assets because it makes it easier to map design.
Mm-hmm.
Watsonian, I have two theories. The first one is one that I was talking about while we were streaming the story. The second one, I will admit, is something that Krista brought up yesterday morning while we were finishing a workout at the gym.
Mm-hmm.
My theory is that everything we are experiencing in Nayos, from seeing the Cryptus to the environments that we're in, is so far beyond our ability to perceive that our brains are basically using our own memories to try and fill in the blanks. So that's why so many of the Cryptus look like other enemies we fought. Now, again, dialectic, they wanted that they reuse the models, and then they didn't have to rewrite the AI scripts for those models to fight. It's whatever. Watsonian, we're seeing things because that's what our brain is filling the gaps in with. Now, the other thing is that Nayos is, and this is going into Krista's theory, is that Nayos is another realm that we had to travel through the mists to reach. The six Tyrian gods and humans are not native to Tyria. They came from somewhere. Eparch, it seems that he's done this more than once. Like, invaded other realms. At least that's the vibe I'm getting. So, the thought there is that the gods and humans might have come from Nayos. And when they left to come to Tyria... Now, without having played a lot of Guild Wars 1, I don't know anything. I don't know if there's anything from Guild Wars 1 that immediately torpedoes that. But they came from somewhere.
Yeah, they definitely came from somewhere. I don't think they would have come from Nayos, though. I think it's a yet unseen other place in the plains.
That's yeah, and that's just one of those like, I don't know, like it's just it's a potential, which, I mean, it's a story.
I would say that just for me and what we've seen, I think Eparch being analogous to like a human god in terms of like level of what they are is probably pretty accurate.
Yeah, because I mean everybody's like super worried about Eparch being mad, so like, and that's, they just came through the mists. Okay, so that is something there.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
Certainly possible.
And that's I still remember having that conversation with Aaron, is the, like, way back when Aaron was still on the show, talking about like the Tyrian gods are like gods, but they're not like capital G God. They're more like the Greek pantheon, because they're still, they're just really powerful.
Yeah.
So
yeah. They're not like immortal. They're like,
well, clearly they're not immortal. We stabbed one of them. He deserved it.
Yes.
Two of them?
Doom,
oh yeah.
Boss.
Doom, yeah.
Oh,
we did kill it. We did kill another god.
Right.
I suppose technically 3 have been killed because Abaddon.
But, yeah.
Is Abaddon really dead? I don't know.
Yes.
Deo's in chat. He'll say that he wasn't. He wasn't at the time, but like godlike entities.
Also, was Balthasar technically not a god at the time when we killed him either, because like he had cast out or whatever?
He was he was cast out and depowered. Then Ritlock runs into him into the mists. He yoinks. He tricks Ritlock into freeing
I was gonna
him.
say he didn't yoink it. Ritlock was like, "Oh, here you go."
Yeah, and then he siphoned off a whole bunch of power from both Jormag and Primordus with Omad's machine.
Right. But like we don't know if that put him back up to like godhood level god, or if it made him a lot stronger.
I mean, he thought he thought he was toe to toe able to be toe to toe with Kralkatorix, so I don't know if he would be at his previous.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, I don't know. How do you judge that?
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like we can't because they wrote it and the story is the story. So, but like he certainly like Watson again, we're going back to the whole Watsonian thing. Balthazar, even after everything in Path of Fire, certainly thought that he was capable of going toe to toe with Kralkatorix.
Sure.
So. Yeah. He thought. I mean, some of that armor, man, some of that Balthazar armor was like. But I don't know. Those are my those are the two theories that I came up with where the story could go. One of the things that was brought up in that. One of the things that was brought up in great. Thanks, Emperor. Now I'm thinking about Balthazar's flaming cheeks.
Yeah.
Thanks. But one of the things that people brought up is they are hoping that we don't just kind of wrap everything up neatly at the end of this. And I'm desperately hoping we don't.
Yeah. I don't think there's any likelihood that everything will be wrapped up neatly in one more release. Like, first of all, something's got to lead into the next expansion, right? Secondly, like all of this, it just it all feels too big for one story to wrap up. Like I think we'll probably confront Eparch and whatever happens, and regardless of how it goes, it's not going to be nice and neat with a bow.
Yeah, it's not gonna be done and over with. And yeah, like what Krista said in chat is it's staging. Yeah.
Also, there's the whole thing about what Queenie said, where she was talking about like you don't understand, like everything we've done is for our continued survival. Which I know, yeah, she could have just been saying shit, but there could legitimately be something else that is threatening them that they're fighting, like holding at bay, and the method from doing that is eating all of the other cryptists to power themselves up. Like there could be something like that like uh Patha and like the others don't know about, that could lead into the other thing as well. So
I don't know. Like I feel like I kind of hope that I realize they don't necessarily want to. I think they stated that they didn't necessarily want to create like the Dragon Saga again, just that long of a story. But we haven't been shown like Eparch being like, we've been kind of teased with how powerful he is. So I kind of think that you're right. Like we need to do this is kind of a hint that there's more behind it that like the general population of cryptists have no idea about. The Chekhov's gun there is more void shit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Maybe.
That was another thing you brought up yesterday morning is if we kill Eparch, it creates a power vacuum and there's the void.
Well, I don't think it would create a power vacuum just because Patha's there. If we confront them and they both die, then that would be interesting. It's like, oh, okay, what now?
Or the she also brought up the potential betrayal from Patha. Like she's just using us to get her.
Yeah. Which is definitely always possible. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like that's kind of less likely. at this point, just because then, yeah, that would just lead into more crypto stuff,
Yeah.
directly.
I do like the idea that we could be going to different worlds because it gives them a lot of leeway with like us being away from alternate realities, like us being away from Tyria. I definitely am hoping that we get some kind of like bridge bit where we go back, and because like at the start of all of this, everybody was like, yeah, we all need to go on vacation, because like that was like Dragon's Watch, like that was the whole thing, is everybody's supposed to go on vacation. And it's just, so Commander, what did you do on your vacation?
I kind of am hoping that like we're off in Norris now. We're not in Norris. Oh my god.
Ugh, messy.
Yeah. We're off in Nayos now. And then I'm hoping next expansion takes us off to another world that's different. And then after that, we come back and like, oh, we're in the Wizard's Words. Let's go check on Tyria. And when we go down to Tyria, time has passed in Tyria. Like maybe more than we thought it did, because time in Tyria went at a different speed than where we
Ooh.
were. And like that could be a whole interesting like thing.
A little bit of Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe shenanigans, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That could be an interesting one. Huh.
Yeah.
That'd be different, but it
I
is.
don't know how they would pull it off, but that would be really cool.
Yeah. Maybe the Pale Tree will be able to talk to the Sylvari players again. Just like, Mom, are you okay? Please. Shake your leaves. Shake your leaves once for yes.
Cabbage out of the fridge.
Yes, take the cabbage out of the fridge. God. Okay. So that will be it for us tonight. We'd go to outro. So Arlie, where can they find you?
You can find me at Arlie82 on Twitch and Instagram, at Arlie on Blue Sky. I'm trying to convince myself to stream more often again, so hopefully I'll be doing that soon. That's about it.
Neat. And you can find me on Twitch at Mad Realms, because it's 2 A's in the Mad, because I don't really go on Twitter anymore unless it's to retweet the Mad Realms account. Because I have found that doing anything with social media is just really draining in a way that I'm not interested in doing too much anymore. So you gotta maintain your own brain kind of stuff. But Tuesdays, might start streaming Mondays, depending on if everybody in the raid group is cool with it. I forgot to ask last week, so I just didn't, because I was also kind of nervous about running with a new group with what I was working with. But possibly raid stream tomorrow night. Gonna be here Tuesday night. Depending on the group, might end up streaming Fractals on Thursday nights. I don't know. Shit's wild. It's a new year, he said in March. So hopefully we will see you then. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all have a fantastic evening, and we'll catch you next time. Good night, everybody.